way they'll be able to do that. The other thing that I realized too is that you might not have your book, right? Like it's very possible that you don't have your book yet for the book club, which can make participation difficult. I'll just say that I got mine today. Here it is. You may have seen that I went live on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and the author finally got his book today after other people in my network, right? So I saw some people in California, Oklahoma, Tennessee. They all got their book before me, which is just hilarious. So finally, I have my book too. So we're going to make an adjustment with the book club stuff, and I'll talk about that in just a sec. But this is going to be awesome. And even though most people don't have their book club, in order to hopefully deliver more value, I actually prepared a special teaching that I haven't done anywhere else. And I want to do that just for you. So you might want, I see Kristen with a pen. So, if you want to take notes and that kind of thing, that is super cool. And before we get started, would you just put in the chat name, role, location, and what brought you here tonight? So name, role, location, what brought you here tonight in the chat? So Kim's a principal at an intermediate school, excited to grow as a leader and become better from reading. We will do that. That's like the whole point. So thank you, Kim, for coming. Amy, classroom teacher, you are a big support, and I really appreciate that about you. Thank you. Sorry the mastermind thing didn't work out. Amy won a free month to the mastermind, but teaches an awesome yoga class, which is great. And it conflicts with when we offer the mastermind. So she was generous, and we'll give that mastermind membership away. Lena Marie, who I'm a big fan of, high school assistant principal in Mass, reading books with others, and that is fun. Very cool. Kate, whoa, calling in from Perth. That's right. I remember now that, we email and text and connect in all these various ways. Your names are familiar. And so it's great to see some faces and then put the geography together too. So thank you for showing up. I think you're about 12 hours ahead or so, right? So is it 7 in the morning for you, maybe? I'm thinking, yeah, thumbs up. Okay. Brenda, retired, always learning. That's brilliant. Kristen, big fan of Kristen as well, former high school principal. Excited to discuss a book with other Ruckus Makers. Lauren is new to my network, and I'm so excited that she's here. We've had one really cool chat on the phone, and she wants to grow in her leadership. And Larry, cool, elementary school principal, and he's here as well. Heather, wanted to keep growing as a leader and be the best I could be for my school. So we're gonna do all that too. Plus, feel free to invite friends, share the Zoom link, whatever. Like the more the merrier, honestly, with this kind of stuff. So, all right. I talked to you how I have a special teaching. We'll get to that in just a second. One thing too, in terms of the book, again, just got my copy today, so you're not late. Corwin started shipping them last week. If you ordered from Amazon, they have to arrive at Amazon, and then they ship them too. So I think everyone will have them probably within the next week, which will be good for the second book club meeting. And within the book, you're going to find out there's a framework. I've been talking about it a bit on podcasts. It's called the ABCs of Powerful Professional Development. And the A is authenticity, B is belonging, C is challenge. And today's teaching is like jumping into challenge type stuff. So it's going to be high level ideas, but also practical things that you can take action on. And that's enough about that. I think you all know me. I'm pretty sure, like, because I know all of you mostly. So I'm pretty confident that you know me. But here's 5 things that if you only knew 5 things about me, this is what I'd want you to know. Number one would be that I consider myself an unorthodox leadership coach. So you see me wearing the Ruckus Maker hat and hoodie. I sometimes follow the rules and sometimes I don't. And that's okay. Maybe it gets me in trouble. But the point of being a ruckus maker is being innovative, right? Thinking outside of the box, pushing and trying to make our industry better. The second thing I would love for you to know about me is my first job was in a comic book shop, right? Fat Dutchie's comic book shop in Palatine, Illinois. Chuck Furman was the owner. He bought me pizza. He gave me 20 bucks, lunch, 20 bucks a week, and all the comics I could read. I was there as like a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, like fifth, sixth grade or whatever, and just there all the time. And he was like, dude, do you just want to work here? Right. And so I would count inventory in the comic book store. And that way he knew how many comic books to order for the next month. So anyways, that was my first job. Did you know I lived in 4 different states and 4 different countries around the world? So Illinois, Georgia, Texas, and now New York. And I lived in the US, Belgium, Netherlands, and Scotland. My podcast, which is probably how we know each other, has 1.5 million downloads and counting. Absolutely changed my life. And the last thing that I want you to know is I am obsessed with these terrariums, right? Just like these little moments of zen and peace captured in glass. You can even see 2 on the bookshelf as well, right? So I love making these, and I think they're super cool. So it's not for my ego that I tell you these 5 things. Actually, it's sort of like a meta deal that I want to unpack. And as a school leader, you mean something to your community, right? You are what I would call or should consider yourself a 3D character, right? And when you, I think it's a mistake to divide too much of the personal and the professional, right? And so when you're thinking about how can you talk about yourself in a way that is approachable and entertaining maybe, right? And engaging, think about 5 things that everybody should know about you, right? And that might be something fun for you to take action on within the week and start telling your classroom or telling your school, telling your district, right? So that's just something I wanted to teach really cool. That's not the super secret teaching. Last thing before we head out into a breakout. You all are my people. School leaders are absolutely my people. It's a very, very difficult job. It could feel isolating. It could feel like nobody has your back. And believe it or not, it took me 6 years to realize this, but it's a very special thing to just focus on school leaders, right? We know where to go when you want to do PLC type work. If you're deep, and you should be, right, into DEI work, the experts there. If it has to be about SEL or unit planning, all these different things, where to go. And I love showing up in this space saying, I am just for school leaders, that you are first and foremost, doing well as an individual, that you are doing well with your family, and then doing well within your school community. And that's what BLBS is all about. So that's super important for me to express. All right, we're going to head to breakouts. And what I want you to discuss, be mindful of talk time. And I just want you to share what's one thing that made you smile this today. Okay, it's Monday, so I can't say this week. We just started the week. So what's one thing that made you smile today? And I will catch you in about, let's see how many people per group, 3 people or so. I'll catch you in about 6 minutes. And I expect smiles when I come back as well. All right, catch you soon. I'm gonna hit record again. I do see smiles, so I don't have to kick you out. That's good. And I hope you had fun, meeting some other ruckus makers. If I had to express some of the benefits of what you'll get here, one would be, right, that you're gonna connect with some other amazing people. Obviously, we're gonna go deeper into the content and then get your questions answered too, in terms of how to apply the ideas. So that is all good. one quick note on logistics. So since we mentioned, and I was talking with Mindy just a second ago, I know a lot of people haven't gotten their book, just got mine today. So I think we'll be good for next week. And I think our plan will be to read through page 46, but we can hold those plans loosely. And if we need to make adjustments, this group is to serve you. It's about having fun, digging into the ideas and that kind of thing. And so, yeah, hopefully that just all works out. Okay. So that's that with logistics. And let's get to the secret teaching, the special teaching today. I'm calling this the 5 levers of school leadership most principals don't realize are available. And you may have heard this quote by Archimedes that give me a lever long enough, right? And a fulcrum on which to place it, and I shall move the world. And that idea, like school leaders, I think should be focused and obsessed with this idea of leverage. One of my personal core values is called the ripple effect, right? And so you may think of it as a stone you're thrown into a pond, like we do often as kids. Hey, Barb, good to see you joining us. And anyways, I want one action that I take to have many, many secondary, tertiary, and so on and so forth actions, right? That's just about leverage. And so that's super good if you can think about that. I think education is a lever for society, and school leadership is a lever for education. So we're going to talk about 5 levers. Lever number 1. And I see some people taking notes. This is the note-taking time for sure. Okay, gift yourself a deep work block once a week, right? So gift yourself a deep work block once a week. And Cal Newport wrote the book on this topic. He wrote a book called Deep Work. And if there's a second book to read after Mastermind, Unlocking Talent Within Every School Leader, it's Cal's book, Deep Work. And he said in his book too, clarity about what matters provides clarity about what does not. Oof, isn't that good? Like having a real sense about what really creates the most value within your organization versus just like the busy work and tasks and, you know, the rat race that we all get caught up in. And yes, Maria, I can. So it's Deep Work by Cal Newport. I'm going to keep doing the teaching, but if somebody wants to grab a link for the book, that would be helpful. All right. If you're going to do a deep work block, the ideal is about 90 minutes if you could swing that. Okay. You may even grow into 3 hours, but that sounds crazy, right? Like, where do you find 3 hours as a school leader? 90 minutes, I think, is doable for you all. An hour maybe feels a little bit easier, 30 minutes, okay? So the point of what I'm trying to tell you is take baby steps. You don't have to start with a full-blown deep work. Thank you, Maria, that's very kind, on your own. Stuff that you work on, only things you can do, okay? So if you think about your tasks, things you know other people can do, then there's things that maybe other people can do. You're still doing them, and it's like questioning. And like for me, writing articles, does that only have to be me? Or can it be somebody on my team? Or can it be somebody that I potentially hire, what's called a copywriter, right? Or a ghostwriter? Could I teach them my ideas and have them, they'll go write an article on my behalf? That is possible. You see what I'm saying? And so during the deep work block, it's only things you can really do. It typically has to do with strategy, has to do with vision, has to do with moving your school forward, right? Again, only things you can do. It is definitely not busy work. It's definitely not the normal day-to-day operation stuff, okay? It is definitely strategic. And I'll tell you this, if you don't do it, you've heard this quote about insanity, right? This is you living it out if you don't do deep work. It's doing the same things over and over, yet expecting different results. I thought school leadership would be easier, or I thought that we'd be at a different place this year, and so on and so forth. I'm telling you, you got to clear the space for your head to dig into deep work, and you will see incredible return on investment. So that's all I want to say about lever one. Lever number two, fight distractions by going old school. Your ancient brain wasn't designed for today's always on culture. Jim Collins, you know, from Good to Great and Great by Choice and all those awesome books, he said, in a world of constant change, the fundamentals are more important than ever. I have recently hired a new coach. His name is Ron, and he is super successful. Okay. Any way you want to define success, he is achieving it. Believe me, the guy's a rock star. And I noticed something when I asked to get on his calendar or like what's coming up in his day, he didn't look like to his Google Calendar, which is usually what I do and that kind of thing. He looked at a piece of paper, like he was like an old school football coach or something on the sidelines. He had it in his pocket. I'm like, what is that, Ron? And he goes, oh, that's my calendar for the day. Okay. And literally I stole his idea. I mean, it's not his idea. People have been doing this, right? Since the beginning of time, at least when there's been paper, and just writing that calendar down. This is now a part of my end of the day routine. I teach on evening journal questions and that kind of stuff. But I've started, after I do my journal questions, I take an extra 5 minutes and I literally do look at my Google Calendar and I write down just what I need to do. It seems super basic. It may seem like kind of backwards because we do have so much technology available, but I'm telling you, the gift of focus and being just a little bit less distracted, right? 1 monitor, 2 monitors, 3 monitors. I've seen it all, right? Unplugging just a little bit so you know where you need to be, what you need to be doing. And then most importantly, you have your big 3 tasks, right? Like a big 3 things that you want to accomplish every day. They're right here. And I don't want to get too deep into this, but I keep score every single day. I could tell you that, you know, I was 3 for 3 today on the 3 things that I wanted to do. It doesn't mean those were the only 3 things I did, but those were the 3 most important things that had to get done, right? So what happens if you don't do it? I love sharing this quote by Seneca. If one does not know which port one is sailing, no wind is favorable, right? We're all going somewhere. In a school, with the parents, with staff, with students, right? With email inbox, these are all everybody else's agenda. And so unless you're very clear on your purpose each day, right, planned out, you're going to be getting blown somewhere, but is it where you want to go, right? So that's it for lever 2. Lever 3. Now you're going to think I'm crazy because I just said, you know, go old school and disconnect from the matrix. Well, now I'm going to tell you to plug into the matrix because resistance is futile, right? Technology is everywhere. You have to figure out how to adopt, and as we're talking, how to leverage it. Bill Gates said the first rule of any technology used in a business, so in a school, is that automation applied to an efficient operation will magnify the efficiency, right? So use technology, and the key that I want you to think about is what can you automate, all right? I don't know if you already use some automations within your leadership. Some examples, if your school is like a Google school, right? Or even in your personal Google, you know that, well, maybe you don't know. There's a feature called templates, right? Or snippets or something. The point is messages that you write over and over, you can just click a button and have it, you know, appear, and you don't have to rewrite it over and over again. I have another tool. Let me open up a document. I'll just even show you. Here's a couple of things that I want to show you regards to automation. I have a tool called Text Expander. So Better leaders, better schools, right? Great name for an organization. The value is clear. But when you're going there as a website, when your email is daniel@betterleadersbetterschools.com, it takes forever to write. And I'm sometimes like a little bit upset that I wrote it this, created that name. But here's an automation. Like, look at this. I just type in X, because many words in the English language don't necessarily start with X. So that's a good way to start a code. So XBLBS web, and there's my website, right? If I wanted you to go buy my book, I wrote another code. There's the website for my book. If I want to give somebody my email address, you see how fast this is? I don't know if this will work or not. Yeah, okay. So the point is, I think you get the point, the gist of it. I have all sorts of different types of codes. Let me research podcast really quick. Okay, this one's really great. This is going to blow your mind. So if I went to my email and opened up a new thing, and let's say I'm going to send it to myself. Okay. And I put XPod intro. I think, no, that's the wrong code. Sorry. Sometimes I forget what my codes are. Let me look really quick. XPod next. Okay. XPod next. So, and we'll say I'm inviting Barb to be on the show. Look at that. Like, I write this all the time, right? So the subject is podcast invite. You saw I entered Barb's name, and basically I'm saying, hey, I enjoyed our pre-chat discussion. Now we could find a time to record. Does that make sense? And that's just a very short one. I have much longer multi-paragraph messages that I typically send people. And so that's really important. Okay. So that's one way you can automate and leverage technology. Now I want to show you something called if this, then that. And does anybody use this by any chance? It costs $50 a year. And that probably gives you like unlimited sort of automations and stuff. But let me actually not show the screen. Has any of you written down something that you should do and you lost what you wrote down, or you don't know where you put it, and you're like, what the heck was that idea? Has that ever happened to you? Yeah? Okay, thank you. So I knew that would happen. So what if you could leverage automation? And again, this is showing you a little bit behind the scenes, like how I work. But I have this Trello board where I call this my external brain, which is all the things that I want to get to one day, but it's not important right now. And then essentially I have a Kanban 3 columns, which is to do, doing, and then done. Okay. And humans, psychologically, we like to see momentum. We like to see things move. Okay. And so that's why a Kanban board can be very powerful. But as you can see in this applet that I set up, I chose to take Google Assistant. That's what this is. So if I say a phrase in Google Assistant, which is create a new task in Trello, and then that money sign just means it's going to listen to whatever I say, right? All right. So if I say create a new task in Trello, then create a card in the Q4 2021 board, which is right here. And let's see if I can show you. Okay, you could pick your board. You could pick the list name, which is these. You can see doing right here. I want it at the top of the list. And what this little thing tells technology is whatever I say after create a new task in Trello, it's going to copy that, Google will, and it's going to create a card for me. Okay. So what I want you to consider, and I'll do this live in front of you, is if you, instead of writing down something on a piece of paper and like losing it, you could say, hey, Google, create a new task in Trello. Remind me to call Kristen and ask how she's doing.
Got it. I'll remind you in a couple hours. And just so you know.
All right, that one, I'm glad it didn't work because I used the word remind. Okay, hey Google. Hey Google, create a new task in Trello, call Kristen. Okay, and then you saw it here, right? So I should have thought of not using the word remind because there's a remind feature in Google and that kind of thing. But the point is, for the most part, did you see how it went there, right? So as long as I don't use words like schedule and this kind of stuff, the point is leveraging technology. I think you get it. And it's not going to be perfect, but you are going to stop losing notes. And that's just a very, very small example. There's a million things you could do. One more just sort of high level. When a new podcast is recorded for me, I have a Google spreadsheet, okay? All I do is put the person's name, the date that the show should release, the title, and then a link to the show note. And every 5 minutes, I have a technology called Zapier. It scrapes through a spreadsheet and it creates a Trello card. It tags my team and they start producing the episode without me touching it ever again, right? So that's in my world, but I promise you, there's ways to do this in school leadership. So that's all that I wanted to share. That was a little bit of a deeper teaching on automation. Okay, lever number 4. This one's easy to understand, hard to do, definitely much easier than automation. So I call this seeing everything in 3D and watch yourself get more done. Shout out and credit to where credit's due. Ari Meisel is somebody who taught this to me, and he does a thing called less doing. And anyways, the 3 Ds are delete it, do it, or defer it, okay? And I want you to like, I'm glad people are writing this down, like memorize those 3 Ds. And then I want you to apply that to your email inbox and then start branching out from your inbox and apply it to just day-to-day situations. So for example, typically I have a pretty tidy inbox. It's not always inbox 0. I don't think that's like, you know, nirvana. If you get a clean inbox, like, okay, you're the best leader in the world. That's not it for me. But how many of you open up your inbox and you're stressed out, right? Or just like you want to ignore it because there is that stress, that pressure, or whatever, who knows what's even in there, okay? Take the 3D framework and quickly decide, can I delete this or archive? Should I do it? In delegating, forwarding to somebody who's more appropriate to take action on it, that is as good as done because you've gotten it off your plate. Or can you defer it, right? So again, back to Google, there's a snooze feature. I might get a podcast guest who sends me a bio and a headshot and we're not recording for 2 months. Well, I could snooze that 2 months later to the day of the recording, right? In your world, maybe you have a teacher observation, right? But it's in 2 weeks. And so maybe you don't need that lesson plan until the morning of, so snooze the email for 2 weeks, okay? Does that make sense? And that's delete it, do it, defer it. Yeah, start with the inbox, start applying it everywhere else. If you don't do it, you know, I think what happens is that just like that Seneca quote again, like, you know, the pressure, the stress, you're getting pulled all over the place. It just helps you focus and helps you get to the work that really, really matters. So those are the 3 Ds. I will tell you this. This has been a busy season with the book launch and my inbox did get insane, like hundreds of emails. There were 82 that I didn't even look at. And so I used this 3D framework that I just learned a few weeks ago, and I got through all those emails in under an hour. Can you believe that? Oh, and here's a secret thing too. I didn't think I'd tell you this. If an email is 2 weeks old or older, just delete it. Like it's totally irrelevant at this point, right? We live in a culture where like I'm getting emails about where's my book, right? Because we are used to Amazon Prime and 2-day shipping and that kind of stuff. And we forget sometimes about like supply chain and how things get out there, right? So anyways, the point is Twitter, I mean, texting, everybody thinks that you need to respond right now. So if it's over 2 weeks old, just delete it at this point, believe me, they're going to write to you again if it was important. So I see some smiles on that one, and I think it's resonating. That's enough for lever 4. This is the last lever, lever number 5. And I also promise, like, the rest of these book clubs are not me teaching or talking. It's going to be much more collaborative, but I just wanted to make sure I provided value since I knew a bunch of people wouldn't have their books. Okay, lever 5, invest in developing your emotional intelligence. You'll create more results and get paid more. Through those other levers, I would tell you what happens if you don't do it. So I want to start with the negative this time around. The Center for Creative Leadership found that 75% of careers are derailed because of a lack of emotional intelligence. You've been blindsided, you step on a landmine, or you say or do something that you don't quite know is going to have the effect that it does, and it could cost, your position. And so that is a reason to develop your emotional intelligence. Check this out. Talent Smart, who did this book, I'm always talking about resources, Emotional Intelligence 2.0. Talent Smart created this book. They surveyed, and this is nothing to sneeze at, 500,000 leaders, right? So 500,000 leaders. They found that 3/4 of those leaders cannot accurately identify how they were feeling in the present moment. That means that 3/4 of leaders, right, are being pushed and pulled by their emotions, not knowing why they're driven to do the things they do. If you've ever wondered, like, why did I say that? Why did I do that? Or how did we get here again? That is an indicator to invest in your emotional intelligence. A positive thing I want to share is that if you take this seriously, right, that Talent Smart found for every one point increase in your emotional intelligence, that was worth $1,300 in an average annual salary. So you'll literally get paid more. That's right, Amy. Develop your emotional intelligence and you'll have higher salary. They also found that 83% of the most effective leaders also scored highly in self-awareness. Okay. A quote from Dale Carnegie. Do you know him? How to Win Friends and Influence People. He said, when dealing with people, remember you're not dealing with creatures of logic, but with creatures of emotion. And the last thing I want to say on this thing with emotional intelligence, proof is in the pudding. So back in 2019, we read this in the Mastermind, the book we're going to read about. And the cool thing about Emotional Intelligence 2.0, there's a free survey after you buy the book, and it gives you scores in terms of your self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. And for me, I scored 69 in self-awareness. Okay, that's bad. 67 in self-management. That was my lowest. So making sure I had buffer blocks in between meetings, right? And taking care of myself and that kind of stuff so I could be my best. Social awareness, I was higher, 74. Relationship management, 79. I'm strong with relationships. Now, 2 years later, I retook the same survey after reading this book, after hiring coaches, after doing the activities in the book, right? Check out how I scored. From self-awareness, I grew from 69 to 75. So that's a 6-point increase. In self-management, 67 to 75. So my lowest did quite well, grew 8 points. Social awareness, I grew from 74 to 80. So another 6-point increase. And then relationship management, which was already pretty high, grew from 79 to 81. So a 2-point increase. Okay. So I'm telling you, this stuff works. You'll have more impact and influence if you take it seriously. One thing you can do if you want to grow in self-awareness is visit your values, right? So do you have personal core values already established? Do you know what they are? And are you reflecting regularly? Maybe it's end of the night, right? Just sitting there counting sheep before you fall asleep. But hey, did you act in alignment with your values or not, right? And maybe if there's time later in the book club, I'll do a teaching on my approach to creating your personal values. But that's really, really important, okay? And that's a way to grow in self-awareness. All right, so that's the teaching, the secret teaching. I hope you enjoyed it. We talked about 5 levers. Today, we also did a little bit about belonging. So authenticity, belonging, and challenge. So I asked in the chat what brought you here, where you located, and read those out loud, right, from the chat. We did a breakout in terms of like what made you smile today. That was intentional to create connection, to create belonging in the group. We talked about the importance of being a 3D character. So that was if there were only 5 things that people would know about you, what would that be? And really, that's it for the secret teaching. So we have 18 minutes. If you want to stick around, cool. If not, that's fine as well. I can challenge you to maybe talk about those 5 things that people know. We could do that, but before I go there, let me just see if there's any just overall questions or ways that I could be of service or value. And if I'm not clear, like feel free to take yourself off mute, talk. This is all our space at this point.
So Danny, some of the automation stuff that you talked about, forgive me as I shut my camera off as my son was asking me 18 questions. You know how it is in this remote world of Zoom and what have you. Is there, I don't know if you have any of that written down, like some of the more specifics, like the apps that you use and that sort of a thing. Do you have any of that written down or no?
I've been thinking about it a lot recently because I'm always considering how could I serve school leaders at a higher level, right? And to this point, there's the Mastermind flagship. I do some one-on-one, and we did the Principal Success Path recently too. I'm thinking of designing something that is almost like the automatic school leader, and I haven't done that yet, nor have I really written a blog post about it. But in terms of the tools, IFTT, if this, then that is one of them. And the other one is called Zapier. And if you'd find it helpful real quick, I could show you Zapier super fast. And so you all know that the book's out, obviously, right? So I get a lot of book orders. Actually, I wonder, I saw one come in. Give me just a second, because we might be able to do this in sort of real time. Okay. And I want to look at the order too, make sure it's like, yeah, I think that'll be okay. I don't think that's not cool. All right. So anyways, I have an order here, right? Signed copy. That's awesome. And I actually used to work with Carrie, so that makes me so happy. And so then I'll send it to my mom. And now it's over. Okay. The process is done. But with Corwin, the old process would be to actually read that email I got, which gave me Carrie's name and her location and what she purchased. Then I have to fill out an Excel spreadsheet, right? You following me? Fill that out with all her information, fill it out with my information and my credit card and that kind of thing, and then ship it to Corwin, who would then charge me and ship Carrie the book. Okay. So there's some multi steps there. And that might take, I don't know, let's say 5 minutes per order, but over lots and lots of orders, right? I hope like thousands, that's a lot of time. And now I just actually email my mom, and it takes, you saw how fast, 2 seconds. So it took me about 15 minutes to build this, what they call a zap. And let me see if I could find it for you and show you the steps. And again, this is just an example. I'm not 100% sure, like we would have to think deeply about what that looks like for you and school leadership. Also, this is only really like a 2-step process. And when you're thinking about automations, you got to think about like, what's the trigger, right? Like, what's the trigger that starts this whole process off? And all right, so let me see if I could find new book order. Okay, so what I had to build was this form for my mom to fill out. And I wanted to make it also that I could actually pull somebody off the street and they'd be able to do this. So that's Erica's email. That's the only person who needs to get an email. And then how many books are being ordered? You could see what's the name of the person ordering my book. And then in this case, my mom or someone from my team could upload the Excel file, which has all the order details. So hopefully you're following me there. Then in Zapier, what you do is you pick, actually, let me back up real quick. In terms of Zapier, you think about stuff that you use all the time. I don't know, see even if Twitter. So like maybe Twitter's there, like, I don't know what it would be for you, but the point is there's a lot of apps and then you think about the trigger. So me, I get an email for an order. I connect it to Google Forms. When there's a new response in the spreadsheet, I want this instantly to happen. And then it comes from my account, right? Daniel@betterleadersbetterschools.com. And this stuff is kind of like the code. So it pulls from this spreadsheet, and then the tabs are the worksheet, right? And it pulls the information from there. That's the point. And then you could test the trigger just to see like if it's working, and it is. Then what I want to have happen automatically is I connect it to Gmail, right? So my mom fills out this form, and once it's entered, immediately Gmail is connected. It sends an email. It's connected to my account. And here's the crazy thing, everybody, okay? And remember, there was only one person for her to choose from. So it's like Erica. This could be 10 people, right? So I could be sending emails to 10 people. Erica, it's from me, from my name. And then this stuff, you can click on. This is like the code without really coding, right? So I wanted to pull what's the name of the person ordering the book, and it's a new book order subject. So the body type, hey Erica, we have another book order, and then it gives them their name, how many they ordered, one. Here's the book order, upload the book from, and then that's the Excel file, okay? And then if we go into my sent folder, oops. See if we could find an example. So there's Kate, and you can see this, right? Like, hey, Erica, we have a book order. Kate ordered one book. Keep making a ruckus. I did not write this email. I promise you I did not. I wrote it once within Zapier right here. And now every time a book is ordered, this goes from me to Erica, and she knows I ordered a new book. All right, is that pretty cool? So you got to think about the different things, again, that you do. The keyword is every time. Every time a book is ordered, I have to do this. And now I don't have to do it ever again, right? So that is really, really sweet. If I could figure out, and there might be a way to do it, how could I remove my mom from the process so that it just scrapes the information and creates the Excel sheet that Erica needs, on my behalf? But that was an awesome question, Larry, and I hope you all got something from that.
Hey, Danny, I almost wonder if, like I was thinking today on my to-do list, at the end of every month, the last Monday of the month, we do our kids team meeting. And I have to remember, like at week 2.5 in the month, send out the email to the teachers to send me their kids team referral of kids we were worried about that we need to meet about, so that I can send them the worksheet. So like, I have to remember to email them. Once I get their responses in, I have to remember then to send them the blank template to make a copy to send out to the rest of the team. Are there ways to automate that even within Google? Because that's a nuisance that I feel like fits into what you just were talking about.
Right. So if I'm hearing you correctly, Kim, some meeting discussing kids, there's a blank referral. So it's once, like if you upload a template, you'd be good there. And then there's specific times that you need it sent out, right?
Correct. But there wouldn't necessarily be an email to trigger like your if then, like when you get the email.
Yeah, got it. I haven't built something like that yet, but let's just take a real quick peek at Zapier and just see potentially if there might be something there. So it could be calendar potentially. Google Calendar. And then you would want an email to be sent out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I bet it could be done because it's talking about Google Calendar events too. So for
Yeah.
example, when I work with leaders one-on-one, I like to say, hey, let's pick a time that works on your calendar and keep it sort of routine, right? I love routines and rituals. So maybe it's always the first Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern, for example, and you can create a meeting that's always the first and third Monday, right? So
Right.
what I'm thinking is if you had that meeting on there, you might be able to create that as the trigger to send out, right, like a week ahead of time.
Mhm.
So that's probably, I would have to dig a lot more into that, but I bet it's possible. And then you do use Google, you said, Kim?
Mhm.
You know there's a scheduling feature or no?
Like I had teachers schedule times to meet with me one-on-one. Is that kind of what you're talking about? Like the make appointments or something different?
Yeah, something different. So like if I wanted to send an email to whoever, and then eventually you could hit schedule send. Oh, you silly. Well, whatever. But you know what I mean? So you
Oh,
could,
yeah. I feel like it used to cap me out on like a week or two out. Will it let you schedule it so that it goes monthly at the same time?
yeah, so I think you'd have to do it. If you did it manually that way and you had to do it for the year, you'd have to do it 12 times, 8 times, whatever. Um,
Mhm.
but again, people have different levels of comfort. So if you have an admin assistant and they have some access to your email, that'd be something that I would delegate, right? So
All right.
back to the delete it, do it, which includes delegate or defer it. That would be
Mhm.
something off my plate. Because listen, you don't need to send that email to the team. Literally anybody that knows how to email could do that on your behalf. So that
Right.
means you should actually absolutely not do it and get somebody else to do that for you, for sure.
Brilliant.
Flex the leadership muscles. Okay.
Is there like a list of things like what she was just talking about that you can defer and delete or do in regards to your admin office and support staff?
I think what would be a great experiment would be to you talked about admin office, but you know what you could do with your inbox, and you might be able to apply this, I bet, to your admin office, but go through the first 10 emails in your inbox and think metacognitively, like without actually acting on it. Is this something you could delete? Is this something you could do or delegate? Or is this something you would defer? Right. And part of it is just training your mind, this framework and this way of making decisions. At the end of the day, that's what we're talking about, right? And then as you do that more and more, your muscles get stronger in terms of that decision making, and then you start seeing the opportunities all over the place. I think I forgot to mention this as I was sharing earlier, but how often during a team meeting, right, you have an agenda, you know the big ideas that you'd like to cover, and then somebody says something, right? And it's like in that moment, do you allow it to have space? And often it expands to the rest of the meeting. And now you don't get to what you wanted to, right? And so what you need to do is decide, do I delete that comment somebody just made? Do we do it right now, which typically is what happens? Or do we defer it? Like, Barb, I hear you. That's a really interesting point. Let's put that in the parking lot. And I promise we'll either get to it at the end of this meeting or next week, right? So anyways, that might be helpful. But I guarantee, Kim, like if I had more time, 30 minutes, an hour to really think about like the date trigger and the fact that that needs to get sent out all the time, like I'm pretty confident you could do that with Zapier. I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, that'll be part of my deep thinking block that I'm going to build in. Hey, the other side of that though, as I process it, is you talked about the emotional intelligence and knowing others. So then the other side of my mind goes, oh my gosh, am I overburdening my office people if I delegate too much? How much of
Oh,
this should
yeah.
I delegate?
No, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up, Kim, because what I've been learning in terms of automation, if you give something that could be automated, like this email, for example, if it could be automated, that could be experienced as dehumanizing because people know, like, why am I even doing this? You know what I'm saying? And so as we were talking too, my mind started wandering a bit. I bet if the Google Calendar didn't necessarily work, but you listed out the dates on an Excel spreadsheet, and then kind of had like the names in another column in the content, and maybe even a link to the file in like Google Drive or something, I bet Zapier could scrape that like super easy and then shoot it out as an email too.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that.
You all seem a little bit interested in this topic, so I'm feeling like maybe this is something I should maybe go out there and build once the book launches a little bit lower key.
I think that like by and large, people are always so like, I'm not techie or I'm scared of, but it's like, we do have to get with it, but in simple ways and in the most effective ways. We don't need like I don't want to become this like tech guru or something like that, but I would like
Yeah.
to have tools and resources that will help me be more efficient and do things better and help the team to do things better, right?
Right,
And,
right.
so that's it. I think, yeah, it probably resonates with me that way. I don't know.
Cool. And it's Zapier, there is a cost. So I don't mind sharing you. I think the level that I'm at, it's $220 for the year, right? So, I think that's pretty fair. And that gets you what they call 20 zaps. So 20 of those automations, doesn't matter how long they are, and I'm using 15. And then that can run 1,000 tasks per month. And that's the starter plan. That's the cheaper one. So you can move up from there. But yeah, I think I might nerd out on this topic and build something. So I can't commit to when it will be ready, but I would actually love to put this together.
And
I
one
might
that
come.
involves like good training, like you're good at training and kind of breaking it down. And so it's really
Barb.
helping to understand. I think that would be huge, right? I mean,
Yeah, because I was going through it pretty fast. I realized also that I need to make the font bigger and that kind of thing. So what I hope I impressed upon you is that some stuff most likely in your life could be done a lot more easily and automatically. And we just have to figure out how to make that happen. But it's back to leverage, right? So that's pretty cool. All right, well, we're almost at time. Hopefully your books get here. Let's commit to reading through page 46 for next week. Has anybody got their book, or is everybody okay? Woo, Kim. Oh yeah, Maria's got hers too.
I've got the
Brilliant.
Kindle version here.
Oh, thanks, Larry. Wonderful. Before you run, and if you have to run, that's fine. But if you have 30 seconds, could you just put the biggest insight you got today? What was most helpful? What was your number one insight? And I do promise next time I'm not talking this much. There's no way. And speaking of, bring questions you want to discuss from the book too. So Kim said the 3D or the deep work time. Barb committing to the levers. Awesome. Nina Marie, the 3D. Awesome. Deep work for Mindy. Deep work in scheduling, Larry. Amy, emotional intelligence. Thank you for your kind words. Yeah, Barb, I can email the recording, sure. Zapier for Maria, Lauren, deep work and emotional intelligence. Cool. Awesome. Well, hey, y'all, thank you so much for being here. I love school leaders, and just have a great night and go make a ruckus. See you next week.